Welcome everyone to Learn to Trade. I'm thankful for being here today. Glad to be here with you all. Hope everyone has had a productive week. Um, Today I'm going to be getting into a weekly review that I'd like to try to start doing on a weekly basis if time permits. It's been getting pretty busy lately, so we'll see how it goes. Um, but today's broadcast is titled L.A.T Commercial Equipment Repair Weekly Review. Um, First of all, I'd like to shout out all of the viewers, the channel subscribers, the channel members, and the website members also. I shout you all out. I appreciate your support, and thankful for all of you for supporting the channel and interacting with the content that I'm putting on. So yeah, today was this week was it was a productive week. I got some like I'm gonna start off with Monday. Monday I was able to get out a good number of estimates to potential customers and some current customers. I was able to get out a lot of estimates and some invoices that were on standby for a little bit. So I was able to catch up on a lot of that and, just keep things flowing, keep things going. And, that's something that goes with the territory if you're, in the service repair industry or any industry, actually. So you always have to keep up with, picking up new business, um, new customers, satisfying your existing customers and stuff like that. Excuse me. So this week, like I said, it was busy. And a reason why it really picked up a lot is the in the movie theaters. A lot of calls came in this week from certain movie theaters. This week was a big week for the Wicked show, the Wicked movie. It started Thursday, I believe it was. Yeah, it was Thursday that movie came out, and I got a ton of work this week just on ice makers in movie theaters and stuff like that. And like I put out a lot, it's important to look into getting your customer base built up, and one of those potential customers for you all, if you're in business for yourself and trying to build your clientele, is to check out those movie theaters. I mean, there's tons of commercial equipment in those theaters, and that will give you a good steady flow of work, and where you can pick up on ice maker calls, fountain soda calls, um, turbo chef oven calls, roller grills. Um, there's a lot of work available in these theaters, but with these with this movie coming out Thursday, what that ended up creating was a lot of attention on the ice makers. It was pretty heavy as far as finding the clientele and getting them satisfied with whatever issues they were having. So with these theaters, we had one that the theater, they've been having issues with their ice maker. Um, they have like between between 4 to 6 ice makers, and these ice makers are on top of the freestyle soda machines, which is manufactured, well, distributed by Coke. Those touchscreen soda fountain soda machines. And these theaters, they've been having this particular theater has been having a lot of issues with the evaporator plates flaking, flaking off the material, disintegrating and then flaking off into the ice. So there would be particles dropping off into the ice, over time during the harvest cycle. So this was going on for a while, and we had been suggesting that they, let us upgrade their soda machines, or I'm sorry, upgrade their ice makers. But money's tight everywhere, and some of these places are trying to hold off until after after the holidays and stuff like that to do things. So this particular theater, they were able to locate 5 ice makers that were not being used from another theater. So these ice makers were transported from New York, and I had to pick up these ice makers, and then of course they were used, so they had to be inspected and cleaned and repaired, tested and repaired if it needed repairs, and they all pretty much needed repairs. So see if I can find a image of one of those. Yeah, there they go. Try to enlarge it for you. Yeah, so these were the ice makers that I'm talking about up top here. So those ice makers, they had to be replaced with the ones that came from New York. So that's what I got into in the beginning of the week, was testing and servicing these ice makers, and then getting them up and running in running condition, getting them cleaned and stuff like that. So that was interesting, interesting job right there. And the thing with these ice makers, these are Ice-O-Matic, and I don't mind working on Ice-O-Matic. Ice-O-Matic, it's okay. The only thing that I find to be difficult is when they're on top of these freestyle soda machines, because if you look, um, it has like a black panel on the top there. Okay, and this black panel on top is part of the freestyle soda machine, and the ice maker is sitting on top of that. And with these ice makers, you have to get inside, and to clean them properly, you have to remove the water trough, which is underneath the water pump and the float assembly. And you can see, let me see if I can make it a little bigger so you can kind of, you see the residue, the hard water residue on them, on the sides, leaking out, leaking down there. That hard water residue, that is all in on the inside also. That's all up on the inside of those um, units. And you try to clean up that hard water residue as best you can. But the thing is they have a um, they have a float assembly inside of them, and that float assembly is plastic. It's a white plastic box piece. I don't have one on hand right now, but I'll show it to you in the future, but those float assemblies, they really get corroded with that hard water. And then the float assembly has two tabs on the top that they stick up and they hold that float assembly in position inside of the ice maker. And the thing is those two tabs, they get corroded with the hard water, and then they get brittle and they snap. So sometimes you'll have a float assembly that has either one of those clips are snapped off, or both of them are snapped off, and then they're just the float is not sitting in there right. So when that happens, you're running into poor ice quality. You know, the ice is either it's too has too thick of a bridge, or it has too thin of a bridge. It's just not the proper um, quality that it should be. And this is what you run into with these Ice-O-Matics. You'll find that a lot. So, you know, if you're running into issues with those Ice-O-Matics not giving a good um, harvest, you know, the ice is just not coming off right, or the bridge thickness is too thick, and you can't seem to adjust it, because it does have a little adjustment lever on it that you can either increase or decrease the bridge thickness. But if that is not working for you, you definitely first want to check to make sure that that float assembly, that the clips are not snapped off. Because if they're snapped off, no matter how much you adjust that lever, it's not going to work for you. But I was able to get, excuse me, I was able to get those three switched out and cleaned up and everything, and they were in such a rush for it, mainly because they had that movie coming out Thursday. So that's what the big push was for, because they knew that they had these tickets were sold for this movie in advance, and they were sold out in advance. So they knew it was going to be heavy traffic coming to their theater and stuff like that. So they really pushed to get that done. And luckily, I was able to get it done and get them back up and running and stuff like that. And now, like the next job I ran into that I got for the week, it was a pretty interesting call. I got a call from for a 7-Eleven that they said there was a technician out there prior to them calling me, and or giving me the call. That technician was said they said he was out there, and they at first they just had one light out, so it was like the top right light. So it's the light on the upper left in this picture here. That was out at first, and then what he did was he replaced the lamp assembly, and he replaced the lamp socket, okay, up on the top left. And at first I assumed that maybe excuse me, that maybe he just didn't close this door back. See how this door is open right here? There's two levers. There's one lever on the right side, and there's another lever on the left side. And all you have to do is slip slip your fingers underneath, and then squeeze those levers. Okay, you either you can either pull those levers down, pull them down, and then pull the window assembly out towards you. Okay, and what that does is these are just releases. They release the door, and then you can pull it out towards you. That's all they are. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on them. You don't have to pull on them real hard or anything. Just release them and then pull the window door, that front door assembly out. And if you can see right down here, there's an opening right there. Okay, so when this door is pushed back in, there's another bracket right on the front middle, on the back side of this door. And when you push this door in, it triggers the door switch. Okay, um, letting the board know that the door is now shut. But when this door is open, or if it's not fully closed, what's going to happen is none of the lights will come on. Your front display window won't come on. It won't show anything. Um, Let me see if I can move this here. Yeah, this is the front display. So it'll look like that. Like if the door is not fully closed, you won't have anything there, and your lights won't come on. So that's what happened. The the technician had replaced the light right up in here, and he replaced the socket. Now that socket is right on this right hand side up top, and he replaced the socket, and that was fine. But the thing that happened was, let me go over to this other picture. Yeah, right here. Right here, this is the socket. Okay, this is the socket. This is the socket from the front. This is how, this is where the lamp will screw into. Okay. And then this is where there's two wires. There's a black wire, and then there's a white wire, and they go into these bottom holes right here, this bottom hole, and then the black wire goes into this bottom hole right here. So all you do is, the wires are already stripped back for you. So what you have to do is you take that wire, and then you want to push in the bare part of that wire into the hole, and you'll hear it click. You'll hear it click, and it locks that wire in place. That way you know you have a solid connection. Okay, so what happened in this case was the technician had pushed in the white wire, that was secure, but the black wire, it wasn't fully secure. So when he got it back into place, what happened then was the um, the wire popped out, that black wire. Yeah, so the black wire popped out of that terminal, and then it touched this this bracket piece right here. It touched against that bracket piece, and then what it did was it blew the fuse. It blew that fuse in there, and then that prevented the lights from coming on and everything. So there, the fuse is on the board. This is the control panel right here. You have to take off these, I think it's 6 screws. You have to take these 6 screws off, remove that stainless panel. Okay, you can just pull it right out, and then there's 4 screws that hold this controller in, and you want to remove those 4 screws, and then pull that controller out, and then that's gonna give you access to the main board of the controller. And on that main board, in the center right side of the board, there's a fuse for the light circuit. and that fuse is a 3.1, I believe it's a 3.17 fuse, 3.17 amps fuse, and it's a mini fuse, and you'll see it. Just just look down on the board once you got this control panel out, and then you'll see the fuse. And that's what I saw right away, was that that fuse was blown. So all it took was going back up here where um, the new socket was installed, and then I just I cut the black wire a little bit because the wire was a little frayed and everything. So I cut that wire, cut that back, and then stripped it again, and then pushed it into the socket terminal, so that, making sure that it was secure. And then I um, got that wire secured into the socket, and then I went down here and replaced that fuse. And then once I got that in, the machine came right up. The lights came on. All of the lights were working. The machine heated up to over 145 degrees. It was like around 150. So that's something that you want to make sure that you pay attention to when you're working on these Vendo hot food display cases. You want to make sure that your wires are secured into that socket before um, turning it back on and leaving, because if it does touch against that frame at all, it's going to blow the fuse and could possibly blow the board. So just so you can see it, for those who aren't familiar with the Vendo, this is the data plate for that Vendo unit, and this is the model number right here, HFD 000006, and that's the serial number. So anytime you are working on any of this equipment, just a reminder, you just want to make sure that you have your model and serial number, just in case you have to call tech support or anything. And that reminds me too, what I'll do is, if you have any issues in the future with Vendo units that you're working on, I'll put this manufacturer. I'll put Sanden Vendo is the name of the manufacturer. I'll put their link in the description below this video also. Oh yeah, and then next I went to another site, and I installed a tea brewer. That's this on the left right here. These are by Bun. And then I installed a coffee brewer also. This is a four flavor juicer in the middle. I didn't install this one. This was installed by another company, but this was in a nursing home. This is a new kitchen in a nursing home. As you can see, they have a small Scotsman ice maker right there. Got the filter set up and everything. Right now the water is off there, so they have that off right now because it's a brand new kitchen that was built into this. It's not real. It's not really a nursing home. It's like a boy. It's a adult senior living facility, I should say. Yeah, it's a senior living facility. That's what they call it. So it's a real nice place, really big. A lot of areas in this community here, and they're building onto it. Like, this is a brand new kitchen section that they put in, and there's a lot more space in there. You may have seen some of those pictures in some of my past videos, because I've been here twice to do installs, and it's a pretty nice setup. But this one here, on this install, I ended up having to have the electrician make some corrections first, because the thing they set up was, this is a dual bund brewer, and I had already installed the tea brewer for him. I had installed it and calibrated it, but when it came to the coffee brewer, I noticed that they didn't have any voltage setup, any power setup for 220. You know, because this brewer can work off of 120, 208, or 240 volts AC. So when I got there, I noticed they only had 120 plugs in the back, on the back wall. So I had to assemble first. I assembled the unit, and I went ahead and connected my water lines in there. I connected all the water lines and stuff that were needed, and then I wired in my power cord. Um, but they were under the assumption that, they could run this off of 120, which it can run off of 120. But just to make you aware of it, in case you're not, these can run off of 120, but they would run more efficiently, as far as volume wise. They would run a lot more efficient if they were working off of 220, 208, or 240. Okay, so um, I had to, what I had to do is I had to have the manager get the electrician, so that I could explain to him that I would rather run this machine off of 208 as opposed to 120. I told him I could wire it. I could go ahead and wire it and have it run off of 120, but what would end up happening with the tea brewer, the juice machine, and the coffee brewer being on the same circuit, and then the plugs that they were using behind these machines are all GFI. So what would end up happening is, every time that these would heat up, or the compressor would come on, and maybe the coffee brewer would be heating up at the same time, or the tea brewer and coffee heating at the same time, it would cause those GFIs to trip every time. So to avoid that, and to be proactive with it, I went ahead and, suggested that they have the electrician wire in a 220 line for me. And then I just left the cord there, so that they would be able to tell what type of outlet to put in. They just match it up, So that's a little information for you to go on, if you ever, are in a situation where you're installing new equipment. You want to make sure you check your amp draw of each piece of equipment, and then make sure that the circuit is going to be able to handle it. Because these 120 lines are these the line for the tea brewer is running off of a 15 to 20 amp breaker. Okay, so if I plug in that coffee brewer to that same plug, and both of these are going to be easily over 30 amps. They're going to draw easily over 30 amps, especially on heat up. So if you see that ahead of time, then, just make somebody aware that they're going to need to install a dedicated line for that certain piece of equipment, especially if it's going to run off 220. And, don't get me wrong, you can run these off of 120, but after they brew the first two pots, if it doesn't trip the GFI, it's gonna not heat. It's gonna take it a lot longer to heat up than if it was connected to 220. Okay, so that's a little something to take into consideration, and also if you guys have any questions on any of this equipment, feel free to write it in comments, and then we can we can go over any questions that you may have or anything. Because like I said, on this movie theater gig, as you see, they have all of the promotion for that movie. So they knew it was going to be a real big movie. You can see that they have the Slurpee machines are up and running. I didn't work on these Slurpee machines. These belong to Icy Company, and Icy Company comes out and services that equipment. I used to service the Slurpee machines before they went to Icy. Once they changed over to Icy, Icy takes care of the service on their equipment, which is smart for them. And then Coke services these freestyles. Now, a thing that you may run into if you're in a site that um, has these freestyles, these Coke freestyles, if you're servicing the ice makers, this is something to consider, because if you service the ice makers and Coke services the freestyles, during when it's time for maintenance, okay, you're going to need to, it's a good practice. You're going to need to empty the ice bin of the freestyle, empty all the ice out. And then you're, when you're working on cleaning the ice maker, you want to get down in there, ice bin, and clean and sanitize that ice bin. Even though Coke is responsible for maintenance like that on their um, freestyle machines, a lot of times people, they don't do it. They'll do the stuff out here, the programming, and then they'll do the change outs on the syrup in there. But a lot of times I find that they don't empty their own ice bin and clean it out, because mainly because the ice maker is on top and the ice maker is serviced by another company. So it's kind of like a catch 22. So do you uh, do the work that this other company should have done, or do you just leave it leave it for them, and then that company's just going to leave it for you? So that's something to consider. For me, I go ahead and I'll empty those bins out, and then I go ahead and I clean and sanitize the inside of the bin. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because if you don't, say a month after you did a ice maker cleaning, and a customer comes and dispenses some ice, and then they see some flakes or dirt or something in the ice, then they're going to complain to the customer. They're going to complain to the manager, and then that manager is gonna call you because you were the last one that did the maintenance on the ice maker. So it's always good to cover yourself by, even though I don't service the freestyle, I'm gonna make myself responsible to make sure that their ice bin is clean, because I don't want to get the call back on ice maker that I serviced or that I cleaned, and then they're getting dirty ice, you know. And then it's even from a health department standpoint, if the health department inspects that ice, and they're seeing flakes and stuff like that in the ice, you're going to get the call on that. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and do that extra step and empty out your ice bin, clean and sanitize and rinse that ice bin out, as thoroughly as possible, and then go ahead and finish up on the cleaning of your ice maker. It's just something to cover yourself with. The other thing on these are these drip trays right here. These drip trays, that top portion pulls off, okay? It pops right out, and if you have to feel with your hand over here on the upper left side. Once you got the top cover off, you have to feel with your hand. You're gonna feel a little tube right over here on the upper left, and that tube is the drain tube for the ice bin. So I'm telling you about that because sometimes that the tube that's over there on the upper left, sometimes that tube will get clogged, and then the water and stuff is not able to drain out of the ice bin, and that causes issues too with buildup of algae and stuff like that inside of the ice bin. So you want to make sure that uh, when you're doing your cleaning and sanitizing on the ice bin, that you go ahead and check that tube. And all you have to do is pull off the top portion of the drain, the drip tray, and then feel with your fingers on the upper left, and you'll feel the tube. And then you want to make sure that the water is draining out of there. And it should drain out once you do a cleaning and sanitize it, because you're going to spray it all down in there. So you're going to get a good amount of cleaner and sanitizer and water going through there. So you want to make sure that tube is clear, because you don't want it to back up and then have water backing up into the ice bin, because that'll also cause issues with the quality of the ice. Okay, so I'm about to wrap it up, everyone. I'm hoping that you all can start to interact with me a little more on this channel and on these lives. I would like to announce a few things that are coming up on the in the next couple of weeks or so. Um, December 4th, I would like to announce that I'm going to do a live with Mike Reed, and his channel is called New to Commercial Equipment Repair. And he and I are going to share some very, very potent information with you as far as um, you establishing your business or building your customer base. I think we're going to be able to share some real helpful information with you, and I hope you can join us. And like I said, we plan to do this live on December 4th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So please feel free to join us, and come with your questions. Um, Mike Reed is very well informed and over 32 years of experience in the field, and that's both residential and commercial side. So I encourage all of you, whether you're opening, launching your business on the commercial side or launching your business on the residential side, either way, it's going to be some helpful information for you to go on. And don't be shy about coming on and asking your questions. There's no bad question. So have your questions ready. And like I said, I'm going to try to do this weekly recap on a weekly basis. I can't promise that it will be every week for sure. It just depends on on my call volume and my time. So if I'm able to, I definitely will try to do this on a weekly basis on Saturday morning. So feel free to tune in and join me with your questions and or any comments on any of this equipment. All right, so I'm gonna let you all go. I'll see you on the next one. I thank you all for joining me. I thank you for your time. I hope you catch the replay of this. And again, have a great weekend. Take care and stay well.